to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my coordinating commentary, Ashton. Guys, this is our Lucha Underground review. Oh man, I am hyped as hell after tonight's episode, the beginning of the Cueto Cup, and you already know they're just doing everything right. Because if tonight's episode was any indication, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be getting through a group a week. So this week was dedicated to Group A matches. So logically next week will be Group B matches and so on and so forth. So we got 4 matches tonight. And if you're thinking, well, 4 matches, that means they must have kind of shrimped out on the cinematics, right? Oh, no. Because we've got 2 cinematics. Both were excellent. One at the start and one to close. And
there were more than 2. We had a bit of a vignette towards the middle of the show as well involving Ray and Johnny.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was going to frame that more as like a video package kind of thing. But, I mean, all the same, you did get that stuff sprinkled in matches, so you know you're not getting shortchanged. This is Lucha Underground at its absolute best. I thought the matches were solid. But once again, to me, the talking points aren't even the matches, which, again, we're all fine. You know, nothing terrible there. But the cinematics, because the way this episode ended tonight, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, I already can't wait for next week. But, hey, guys, don't take my word for it. Let me field it over to my co-wording commentary. Bro, what'd you think of tonight's episode?
Yeah, this was a really fun episode of Lucha Underground, dude. There was just so much going on. They broke from the usual 3-match formula, and they're going with more of a bulked-up 4-match formula. But the beautiful thing is they didn't skimp out on the cinematics, just like you said. We had 2 really good cinematics, plus obviously we did have the video package for Ray and Mundo. So a lot of stuff went down on this show, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh, dude, absolutely. I mean, I always say it's really gotten redundant at this point. Oh, this episode had a sense of purpose, or this episode had a sense of purpose. I mean, you're talking about the start of the Cueto Cup, and they mean business. Let's get right into it.
And by the way, check out chat so that you can see the link that I posted to a Willie Mac tweet.
Oh.
It's amazing.
Okay, I will. I'm gonna do that here in a second, but let's get right into...
We're gonna get John's live reactions to this Willie Mac tweet, you guys. Here we go.
Yeah, hold on. It's gonna take me like a few more clicks here because I didn't even have chat open, to be honest. Okay, I just opened it. There's your link. All right, let me see this tweet. Oh my God! Yes, yes. Oh my God! And guys, we may have a little treat for you in the middle of this broadcast because I did tweet at Vinny Massaro. And we're going to see if he reacts to my tweet. I hope he reacts to it in the confines of this program so you guys have that to look forward to. In the meantime, though, that was hilarious. And let us get right into our Lucha Underground review. And we open up with a cinematic. It's Cueto. He's got a physical kind of board of the Cueto Cup brackets. And he's putting them together. Somebody walks in his office and Cueto says, hey, nobody just walks into my office without, like nobody barges in without knocking. And you hear a voice say, I do. And you immediately realize, holy shit, it's Pentagon Dark. So Pentagon Dark is back.
Yes, he is, with a furious anger.
And what's funny here is he immediately asks for Black Lotus, but I don't remember him asking for Azteca. He only wanted Black Lotus, which I found interesting. Cueto.
The thing is that he wouldn't have been vulnerable enough for Azteca to get his revenge if it wasn't for the Black Lotus triad.
That's true. So you'd want to cut the head off the snake, so to speak. And Cueto doesn't really give her up or anything like that. Almost kind of taunting Pentagon. We know what a prick Dario can be. And then Pentagon grabs him by the finger and says, well, why don't I just, break your arm instead? And Cueto, because he is just so goddamn slick, talks himself out of yet another painful situation. He's like, wait. I know what you want. You want to be Lucha Underground champion. I can make that happen for you. Because, you see, I've got this whole Cueto Cup. I'll enter you into it. and he essentially says, like, your opponent's Argenis, and if you win, if you win the Cueto Cup, you go to Ultima Lucha Trace, and you get to fight the Lucha Underground champion. And, it just really building Pentagon Dark up and saying, like, see, you don't want to hurt me. I can make this happen for you. Well, Pentagon Dark says, he will win. He will become Lucha Underground champion. And why? Because he's Pentagon Dark and he has zero fear. And then he turns to walk
Porque
out.
yo soy Pentagon Dark and cero miedo.
That's right. That's right. And he's turning to walk out of the office, and he stops, and he tells Dario, and oh, by the way, if I don't win the title, yeah, I'm breaking your bones. And he walks out, and Dario's probably just thinking, Jesus Christ, this guy has been wanting to break my arms in season 2. Like, can I just shake him off, for God's sakes? But that was our first cinematic. Partner, what'd you think of it?
Oh, I loved it, man. I freaking loved it. I just love that Pentagon is back and that he's just as much of a badass as ever. I'm a little bit surprised that they didn't really do anything from a character standpoint with him. I was kind of expecting more of like a kind of like a face leaning or a technical leaning version of Pentagon, but no, they're just going straight forward with the exact same character, and that's a very interesting choice for sure.
Absolutely, because you got to wonder how it's going to work out. Knowing what we know now in Group A, which we'll get into momentarily, I agree with you. I thought it was a very interesting way to reestablish him, because that was what I was really perplexed with, because you're talking about a guy that got both of his arms broken. I'm thinking, were you going to get dramatic cinematics with him rehabbing and like thinking about revenge? Like, how are they going to handle this? No. Simple office segment. I'm back. Fuck reforming, in the words of Cliff. I want to keep doing damage, and now he's in the Cueto Cup. So great cinematic to set the tone for the night. And then we get right into the show with our first match being the Mac versus Mala Suerte. And partner, since I talked for the majority of the cinematic segment, I'll have you take the reins on this one. What did you think of this opener, this first bout of the Cueto Cup?
Yeah, I thought this was actually a lot more kind of competitive than I expected it to be. I thought that this would be a relatively one-sided match. I thought Mac would really just kind of get his shit in and be done with it. But then Mala Suerte pulled some cool shit out. I know he did a really neat crucifix pile driver, which has been one of my favorite wrestling moves since I saw Austin Aries do it to Samoa Joe in TNA back in like 2005 or 4 or something like that. It's a really cool looking move that I love. He did the kind of the tease where it seemed like he was basically going to go coast to coast, going just from one corner to the other as far as his dive. But then he just kind of hopped down and did a typical little like senton. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. The Mac's athleticism will never cease to amaze me. It's always going to be amazing. It's always going to take me off guard, because on this show, like even in this match, there was a moment when they had both gone down to the ground from like an arm drag or something, and the Mac did like a front flip kip up. It was crazy.
It was absolutely freaking nuts. I really adored this match, because see, this match, I think it was only like 9 or 10 minutes, but you get workers like this and they know how to maximize their time and make it a really fun match. Like, not every match has to be this 30-minute barn burner of, oh my God, you guys, matches like that I feel like are better than some 30-minute bouts I've seen. You know what I mean? You just got to get the right people involved. I think Lucha Underground did that here. I thought it was really cool that they gave Mala Suerte the rub that they did, actually having him hold his own against the Mac, which, I mean, let's be honest, that does make sense, because for the past 2 weeks, I mean, last week Mac was involved in a Falls Count Anywhere match, and then the week prior to that, he was in an All Night Long. So, I almost like that kind of put him on equal footing. And like you said, he got to do something as cool as a crucifix driver. But ultimately, the Mac does get the win after the stunner. So Mac advances. And I've got nothing else to say about this. Really fun match, and I enjoyed it. So what about you, partner?
No, yeah, that's pretty much where I am as well. I already kind of gave my thoughts, so we can move on. I believe up next was the the Rey Mundo thing.
Yes, the whole hype package there. I'm just going to be very succinct about this. I thought it was well done. Great seeing these two men in their respective training regiments. I'm sure we're going to go more deep with Mundo in subsequent weeks, because he did mention the dojo and everything. But yeah, I like that they're immediately, like, again, Lucha Underground, they took this hiatus unexpectedly, and it kind of works out perfectly because you see these episodes now, and now they're like, okay, we're really getting down to business. We're not making any haste on anything, or, we're not wasting any time, I should say, on anything. They're immediately promoting this title fight, which is going to happen the same night as the Cueto Cup Finals. And, yeah, it's going to be great. Great video package. Nothing more I can say than that.
All right. Well, I mean, yeah, that's about what it is. I don't really have anything to add. I know we had kind of some imagery of these guys doing their training regimens, like you said. Ray kind of got his cardio in first, and then he got in the ring. Some in-ring training with an unknown luchador. But yeah, Mundo is working at his dojo. That's all we need to know.
Absolutely.
But then we pretty much got right into our second match of the night, which was Pentagon versus Argenis.
And you know what? Surprisingly, like you said about the Mac Mala Suerte matchup, I thought this was going to be absolute annihilation. From Pentagon Dark to Argenis. It turned out to be a bit more competitive. What'd you think of this match?
I mean, yeah, the obvious pick was, Mac or Pentagon dominates. But he really, honestly, even though Argenis got some offense in, like more than you would expect, it was like, it's the difference between a squash match and an exhibition. Like I keep saying that. Pentagon still pretty much destroyed him for the most part.
Right. And yeah, I mean, Pentagon lays waste to Argenis. Gets the win with the package pile driver, 3-up, 3-down driver. And after the match, we're kind of questioning, is there any character progression or whatever with Pentagon Dark? Because it seems like he's going to leave Argenis to his own devices, because you can see Argenis stirring. But Pentagon goes back, he grabs Argenis by the arm, and he does the arm break. So Argenis has gotten his arm broken again. It's nice to see that even though he got both of his arms broken, Pentagon hasn't learned a damn thing. And I mean that as a compliment. I think that's absolutely wonderful. So, yeah, what'd you think about Pentagon still breaking those bones, partner? Any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I already did kind of mention about how it's interesting to me that they just straight up any kind of character progression based on the sort of devastating trauma that Pentagon suffered at the hands of Dragon Azteca and Black Lotus. But I think that almost does fit his character, because his problem has never really been, I'm this psychopath who, breaks arms just because it's fun. He's always been a very vindictive character, and I don't think that he's got the type of character where he's necessarily lessons. You know what I mean?
I know, yeah. I mean, that was certainly confirmed for us tonight, for sure. And you know what, though? Again, I love it, because I feel like if this was any other heel, they'd come back, which, I mean, based on the crowd reaction, the guy's a fucking hero, but I use heel very loosely here. They'd come back and they'd be like, during my time off, it gave me a lot of time to reflect. I just want to say that I'm sorry. I'm going to do things right this time. Not Pentagon Dark, man. Pentagon Dark's like, look, if I only made one mistake, it's I didn't get to break enough bones before mine got broken. I'm not going to have that happen again. Everybody's getting destroyed. So kudos to him. He's clearly chosen his path, and he's walking it with rigor and determination. Pentagon wins. He advances. And I guess we can move on.
Yeah, man. It's interesting, too, because, like I said, he's always been this very defiant character. And it all kind of stems from his, inability to find a partner in Lucha Underground. Yeah. Like, at first it was Chavo, and then Chavo abandoned him, or betrayed him, really. Yeah. In Aztec Warfare. So, yeah, all this shit could have been avoided if Chavo just wasn't such a prick.
Yeah, Chavo, this really is all your fault. I'm glad you got your arm broken. So, yeah, nothing more I can say to that, partner. Unless you have anything more to say, we can move on.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to add. Up next, we had Tejano versus Famous B. Famous B feeling very generous, willing to offer the win to Tejano. He says, I don't want to win the match. I want you as a client. And because of that, I'm willing to let you pin me, but I want you as a client. And Tejano, being the asshole, really, that he is, he says, okay, I'll pin you, but first I'm going to get my shit in. And he does a powerbomb to him.
Yeah, what a freaking bully Tejano was here. Famous B here trying to put in the work, you know, and get that representation, get that clientele, saying, I'm just going to lay down for you, man. You know, you get 3 count, you see the perks are working for me, and that's it. But no, Tejano's like, oh, I'm a big shot, when you're not even really a medium shot, you're just an asshole. And he's like, no, not doing it like that. Kicks Famous B in the gut, power bombs him and gets the win. I mean, very quick match. I think the quickest we had all night. But yeah, I'm just like, come on, Tejano, really? You're really gonna be that guy? You made the perfect comparison in live reactions when you compared him to Daga when Cobra Moon was trying to give him a win. But it's like, no, I've got to make people believe my ability got the win. So elbow drop, and yeah, so Tejano gets the win. He advances. That means, I think, by the way the brackets broke down, that he will face the Mac. So yeah, going to be very interesting there.
Yeah.
And yeah, just nothing more I can say than that right now. Tejano wins, and I'm cool with that.
Yep. I mean, as cool as we can be, knowing that he's such a prick.
I know, right? Like, what a douche nozzle. At least come by it honestly. Like me. So, yeah, I got nothing more to say.
All right. Well, I guess up next, then, we can talk about our main event. Cobra Moon brings out Drago for his match with Argenis, with Aerostar. And that's what closes the in-temple portion of the show.
Well, let me ask you, partner. I don't know if you meant to do this deliberately, but there was a cinematic at some point. I just forget where it was. Where, remember, Cueto approached Cage. That's what set in motion everything that we got.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because
I almost forgot about that. Well, really, I did forget about that. You just reminded me. So yeah, that happened. I think that was actually in between that third match and this match. So
right. Yeah, Cage is doing curls with the free hand, you know, because the other one's been consumed by that fucking gauntlet. And, you know, doing curls for the girls, you know, because we know Melissa Santos probably loves it. And Cueto approaches him, says more or less that Delgado wants to meet with him. And Cage is like, not interested. And Cueto, like, he's got that look on his face, like, he knows he has to manipulate the situation, but he knows the risk of who he's manipulating, so he's got to choose his words very carefully. Oh, believe me, you'll want to meet this man. He's very powerful. And, you know, just mentions all of his political connections and everything. Gives Cage the card. And you could see, though, the brisk pace that Cueto developed after the fact, because he couldn't get out of the room quickly enough. So, like, that Cueto way, man, always finding a way to survive. But, yeah, he pretty much tells him, Delgado wants to meet with you, and we can anticipate down the road. And it happened a lot quicker than I thought it would. Cage and Delgado meeting. So good stuff. Do you have any thoughts on this?
No, not really. I have more thoughts on the actual meeting.
Yeah, don't we all, partner? Don't we all? But back to your
You can tell that Cueto was really uneasy even interacting with Cage in his current state.
Oh, yes. And after what happened, everyone should be. And, you know, like, I'm that guy. I shoot my mouth off in here. That's one of the greatest things about this podcast. It just gives me liberty because you guys are always so cool about everything. I could be a dick to everybody. Cage will always make me have second thoughts now before I start talking shit. Because I'm like, if he hears this, he'll find me, and then that's it. Like, that's my life right there. It's just, that's the end date. So, yeah, Cage, nobody wants to screw with him, not even Dario. And I can't say I blame him, but we'll get more into that later. I cannot wait to talk about that, but we've still got one more thing to cover. Drago versus Aerostar in the main event, as you were mentioning. I'm going to be honest here for my money, and then I'm going to field it over to you. It wasn't a bad match. I noticed where Aerostar had a few, like, 1 or 2 hiccups. At least they looked to me like hiccups as far as the in-ring stuff goes, but it's okay because I was more into the story of Aerostar being hesitant to take the fight to Drago at first because of the brainwashing and Cobra Moon being at ringside and just drawing on the history between these two guys. I thought, given that it had the most going for it narratively, it was smart for it to main event, and I thought the payoff of it was satisfactory with an outcome that I honestly wasn't expecting, but it makes me all the more intrigued. So what did you think about this main event tonight?
That's the thing to me is the outcome, because I originally picked Drago to win under the impression that they were really going to kind of give Pentagon the hero's path to the finals. Because I had him beating Drago and then Famous B And then I think Mil Muertes on his way to the finals. Or no, I actually had him losing to Mil in my original bracket. So I thought that they were going to really give Pentagon like a hero's treatment. And then like the more I thought about it, it was like, well, no, Pentagon's facing Argenis. Argenis is a good guy. Why would they, have him face Argenis in the first round and then a bunch of bad guys in the rest of the rounds? But that definitely looks like it's going to happen. If not, it's a possibility. So, yeah, I guess I wasn't too far off in the first place, which kind of makes me concerned that maybe Sexy Star will beat PJ Black and will be Puma's first opponent.
Maybe. Yeah, that is a great point because these results, I was wrong about Aerostar winning, and I was also wrong about Famous B beating Tejano. So already those results, even though in one way they're only confined to Group A, I think they have more, wide-scale effects on the rest of the tournament because now who's going to take what path is kind of the question. And like you said, Sexy Star might beat PJ Black, but then she has to run into Puma, and that could be very, very interesting. So, yeah, I was not expecting Drago to get the win in all honesty, but I think it's a unique move. Really shows that Lucha Underground is taking the Serpent Tribe seriously, as they should. And I know I'm preaching to the choir to you, partner, because I know you love those guys. So that's cool to see. And, yeah, that means then, if I've got it right, that Drago is going to face Pentagon, and that's an intriguing matchup. That might even be a first-time one-on-one matchup, if I'm not mistaken, because I know they were a part of that triple threat when the three were originally introduced in Season 1. I don't know if they've ever had a one-on-one.
Well, yeah, they were part of the triple threat, and I'm pretty sure didn't Phoenix pin Drago in that?
I believe you're right. I think you're right. Yeah. So.
And then the next week we had Drago versus Pentagon.
Did we have Drago versus Pentagon? I thought it was Phoenix.
Or was it Phoenix? It might have been Phoenix Pentagon. Yeah.
So, yeah, Drago versus Pentagon might be a first-time matchup. If not, it would only be the second or third time, which really isn't, like, that much, especially when it's spaced this far out between seasons. So, yeah, going to be very interesting. Any concluding remarks you have about this before we get to the stuff that I know we all really want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I really have anything else left to add, brother. So let's get right into the final post-credits cinematic.
Brother, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because I know the way my mouth works when I love something and I'm passionate about it, I can never shut the fuck up. So I'm going to have you not only lay the scene, but give your thoughts first, because I'd love to dig into your brain. And then I've got a lot that I want to say about this. So
I appreciate it, because the way mine works is very much more visual, whereas yours is a lot more analytical and, like, philosophical, obviously. That's almost redundant to even say.
Exactly.
But, like, yeah, so I love the way that they set this scene up, too, because you have Cage walking down a street in Boyle Heights, and they even show on the outside of this building that he's walking into that it's the, God, what was it? The Township building, I think? The Boyle Heights Township building?
Or City Hall.
Town Hall. City Hall, yeah, either one. Something like that, yeah. So we get the Boyle Heights, we'll go City Hall because that just sounds right. And Cage walks in, and he approaches Delgado. And you kind of have this feeling of unease because, oh, well, these guys have never met before. I wonder what this is going to be like. And then he talks to him a little bit, and Delgado's happy to see him. He says, oh, you can't take it off? And Cage is confused by this. He's just like, well, what do you mean by that? And then, yeah, Delgado is just like, well, yeah, I mean, you don't really think that you're just going to get this and not have to do anything with it, right? Like, we do. And then Cage is, like, offended by this. Like, he's just like, I'm my own man. You don't get to tell me what to do. I could crush you right now. What are you going to do to me if I say no? And he pretty much does say no. Like, he straight up refuses to work for Delgado. He even goes as far as to say, I don't work for you. And then Delgado's just like, oh, believe me, you will. And that's when Cage kind of freaks out a little bit. You want to take it from here?
Yeah, because initially he throttles Delgado by the throat, but he regains himself and he says, sorry. And, Delgado's like, it's all right. Like, he almost seems pleased with it because it shows, like, it's really taking effect. And then he starts to say, what did he say exactly, Ashton? Because I know Cage's trigger word, like, oh, you're a man. Something about him being a man. I don't know exactly what. Oh,
wow. Yeah, I didn't even catch that. We're going to have to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah, but that's what started the whole big thing that we're getting ready to talk about here, because Delgado said something about Cage being a man, and that just triggered Cage, and I'm not even kidding. Like, he had this look on his face, like, what? And he turns around, he punches him with glove fist, and essentially, folks, to put it the most eloquent way I can, I just saw a man pulverize another man's face. And
with a single punch.
A single fucking punch. He pulls it back. It's covered in blood. Cage walks out. He steps on some of the bodily matter of Delgado, which is disgusting. I even thought it might be an eyeball.
I think it's brain matter. It might have been an eyeball, but it's most likely just brain matter.
Yeah, it's either an eyeball or brain matter. You can see the wide angle, Delgado just slumped all dead and shit, and Cage walks out, and that's it. Now, my brain is going a million miles per hour, but again, before I unleash that torrent on all of you, I want to be fair. This is a two-person podcast. Ashton, what'd you think about all this going down, man? Good.
You know what I thought about it. We were both freaking out. I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay. Well, here were the two most immediate thoughts I had, because these are the most important. All my other thoughts really don't freaking matter. Here are the two that really matter. One, that was a political official. And we know Vasquez has been investigating Cueto, so that storyline has blown up now. Because now everybody's going to be on this, given how high Delgado ranked. Not as high as the Lord, who that's another thing. I'm very curious what his response to this is going to be. So, from a cinematic perspective, that's my stream of consciousness. From an in-ring perspective, my stream is exactly what I talked about in our preview of the Cueto Cup this afternoon. Who the fuck is going to stop that? And more importantly, how are they going to stop it? It's really, because do you remember, Ashton, when Matanza was world champion and we knew that Sexy won Gift of the Gods? You and I immediately were wondering, okay, well, Matanza's been booked so dominantly. How are you going to do that? With 6 stars Gift of the Gods, because it just wasn't believable to us. Now, granted, Lucha Underground had a brilliant workaround to the whole thing. I feel like this is a similar situation. How are you going to work around this? Because, again, one punch, and he killed a man, ruined his face, and, his life. So, yeah, Cage is fucking legit. So on a cinematic side, I'm thinking, okay, this universe is blown up now, because Vasquez is really going to want to get in on it, which means that Cortez Castro as Veneno is going to have to go in even deeper and maybe even try and get close to Cage, which is mortifying. And yeah, just all that. And again, the Lord's response and Cueto's response too, because this is going to fall back on Cueto, I'm sure. And then, yeah, on the in-ring side, who's going to beat Cage? So when I present all of that, and now I'll field it to you, what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think, honestly, the most interesting part that you didn't even mention to me,
okay,
the Lord.
Right, as I mentioned, the Lord's response, because he's going to have a response to this.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. Does this hasten sort of desire to show up at the temple?
Yeah. Oh my. Oh, dude. Here's the thing. Because let's go back. For those of you that are very passionate watchers of our Lucha Underground content, first of all, thank you, very much appreciated. But second of all, you know that Ashton has been saying for the longest time now that the Lord is Dario Cueto's father. So, imagine how he's going to feel about these results that Cage has been getting with that gauntlet. Because here's my thing. The Lord strikes me as a kind of character that will be thrilled that Delgado was killed. Maybe it'll have some issues, but I think he'll look at it as, my God, it's working. It's everything we ever dreamed of. He's going to see Delgado as nothing but a lab rat. He served his purpose, whatever. That's the way I see him looking at it. And I think he's just going to be pitching a fucking tent, seeing how successful the gauntlet has been. So, what do you think?
I definitely agree with you there. I think the Lord's initial instinct might be angry over his fallen ally, I guess you could call Delgado.
Right.
But his long-term reaction will be, hell yeah, I'm glad this is working.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of showing my inner nerd here. I remember the Boo saga, in the early stage when Boo was hatched and Deborah seemingly got killed by Boo, and he was like Bobbity right-hand guy for all those episodes, but Bobbity fucking creamed his pants. He's like, oh my God, this is amazing. I don't need anybody anymore. And we all know how that ended, of course, but that's irrelevant. You know, that's the same thing I see the Lord as. Like, oh man, well, who needs those political connections? I'm going to have a God serving me before too long. But, and here's where it gets interesting. If that is the Lord's mentality, like, because remember, Delgado said, like, oh, we have plans for you. Almost seemed like Cage was going to be in a kind of servitude to bigger interests, the Lord's interests. We've seen Cage already be resistant to that. Ashton, I hate to go way out of left field, but you know Lucha Underground does that to us. Could we potentially be setting up an encounter between the Lord and Cage down the road?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, because I didn't even think about it before, but if Cage is this stubborn and the God has a mind of his own, unlike Matanza, where that was kind of a successful vessel, this one, something may have gone awry, and now this God does have a human vessel, but it can act on its own accord. That could be very bad for the Lord, but I mean, with the way they've built the Lord up, I mean, that's a clash to me worthy of like an Ultima Lucha, like the Lord versus Cage. So I'm very curious how they're going to handle that, because Cage isn't going to go quietly. They made that clear in the cinematic. So how do you see that all kind of falling out?
Yeah, I think that there's a very distinct possibility that the Lord shows up and basically kind of repeats to Cage what Delgado said. And he's just like, well, you're going to be working for me now. And Cage, maybe by then the God that is kind of taking over Cage's body will have complete control. But if there's still any fight left in there from Cage, from that human ego that exists within that vessel, we could definitely have a really interesting confrontation on our hands. If not a full-blown fight, if not a full-blown match.
Now, here's the thing, too. Because, dude, this one segment is the episode of Lucha Underground 12 Because I know we talked about the matches and stuff, but this, to me, is the meat on the bone. You know what I'm saying? This is where all the discussion happens, is this cinematic. Cueto. Who's Cueto's dog in this fight? Because he may even like the Cage is taking care of these problems. Because I know Delgado, because we did Lucha Rewatch Season 2, and you know Delgado really didn't think that much of Cueto. Like, he was almost like just kind of this errand bitch or whatever, like this intermediary for bigger interests. So Cueto may be thinking, well, hey, if Cage takes care of Delgado, and hell, if Cage takes care of the Lord, that's two powerful figures that are no longer breathing down my neck. At the same time, though, that person that did that is still a headache for you, because he's got the proximity to you in Cage, because he works at your goddamn temple. So is this a lose-lose situation for Cueto, or do you think, like he always does, he'll find a way to make this advantageous to himself, these developments with Cage?
I mean, it's Dario Cueto. Is that even really a question? Of course he'll find a way to make it advantageous. Maybe he'll get in Cage's ear and just be like, listen, Cage, you don't have to work for anyone. Just do me a favor every now and then, and I will make sure that all of these officials that keep showing up at the temple for you don't keep showing up at the temple for you.
Right. Let's address.
So that's like less I'm working for you and more like a working agreement where we're both benefiting.
Right. Now, before I shift to the wrestling portion again of like who's going to stop this, do you have any other cinematic like curiosities or concerns or like whatever that you'd like to pose? Because I think there's so much that comes out of this one thing. Is there anything else you can think of that you'd like to address?
Not really. I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, there's still a lot that we need to know about, but I think it's really interesting that they killed off the Delgado character this quickly.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I did, because I know it's kind of like who's going to die this season, but I thought Delgado was still a character of such importance that honestly, I didn't even contemplate his death, period, let alone this soon. So this is definitely something that sends a jolt to the system. And again, yeah, the only other narrative piece that like really has my intrigue is, Vasquez is going to hear about this. Hell, all of Boyle Heights is going to hear about this. And that's another thing too. Cueto, because Vasquez even said it very early on, keeps all of his activity, criminal activity, whether it's drug trade or this underground fighting ring, like very secretive, shrouded in the shadows. Well, now everybody's going to be breathing down his neck because, they're able to put two and two together, which I don't see why they wouldn't, because it's not like Cage took any time to clean up after himself. He pretty much just left the body there. So Yeah, they're going to have plenty to work with. That'll make the investigation storyline very interesting.
You know what, dude? I just realized they're probably, and by they, I mean Vasquez, she's probably going to think Matanza was responsible.
That's a great point. And yeah, I mean, either way, that's really bad news for Cueto. But I'd say that's even worse because then you're talking about familial problems. Now,
well, not only that, but it's also kind of a, you know, like it's confirmation bias. Like it's more reason for her to believe that Cueto is this harbinger of the end times.
Right, right. And what would be interesting if she does believe that it's Matanza, because I just thought about this too. It actually, unless maybe I'm kind of mistaken or maybe I'm not thinking this through the right way, actually does play well into your hand that the Lord is Cueto's father, because they could even use that as, all right, son, well, they're coming after your brother, so we've got to band together now, or whatever. Like, if she really does believe it's Matanza, maybe that would be another way for the Lord to make an appearance so that he could kind of redirect this away from the Cueto family onto something else.
I love that. Yeah, dude, that's brilliant. Dude, I'm telling you, there's so much coming out of that because, like you said, this isn't just a Lucha Underground thing. This is going to affect the entire Luchaverse. Like, the entire city of Boyle Heights within the world of the Luchaverse is going to be lit ablaze by this news that their councilman is dead. And not only is he dead, but his skull was literally turned to mush by someone or something, and they have no proof of who it might be. That's going to lead to Vasquez thinking like, oh, well, the only thing with this kind of power is a god. Obviously, it was Matanza. One more thing on the list of shit that Cueto is going to have to pay for.
And see, you know what? I don't know why this didn't dawn on me until now, but this just once again illustrates the brilliance of the Cueto family, particularly the Lord. If you are correct and it's Cueto's father, you've got the perfect fall guy. Because it's not even a Cueto. Whatever happens, like, Cage is going to be the ultimate sufferer of this because he's the one that killed. He's the one being consumed by this gauntlet. So, once again, the Cueto showing we can reap all of the benefits without embracing any of the risk. I love it. Because, yeah, even if she does suspect Matanza, you know they'll find a way either to make that work to their advantage, because, like you said, it's Dario Cueto. Are you kidding me? Or they'll just divert it to something else entirely. My God, I'll tell you, if you're right about it being Cueto's father, the Cuetos are my new favorite family in wrestling. The McMahons can suck a railroad spike because they ain't got shit on the Cuetos. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I feel like you would have said that long before the Cueto family was even introduced, though. The McMahons are just the worst.
I mean, they are the worst, but to know that you've got this family that you could choose instead, like, God damn. I'd say apples and oranges, but those oranges are clearly moldy as fuck. Like, oh, I'll just take the Cuetos all day, every day, thank you. God damn. But, yeah, what a cinematic. What a cinematic, the implications of it. And again, on the in-ring standpoint, I know you mentioned, like Puma and how Vampiro could stop it, but again, like, it just confirms to me that Lucha Underground thinks about the Gauntlet what I've been thinking about the Gauntlet, that it makes Cage damn near unstoppable. And because it seems like he won't be responding before we go off the air, unfortunately, I'll just share with you guys what I tweeted to Vinny. I said, so you saw that, right? I guess next week it's hashtag bye-bye Vinny. Eat pizza in a bathroom one last time before then at Lucha El Rey. So, yeah, Vinny pretty much knows what I think is going to happen to him next week. I don't think it's going to be good. I know those of you in chat have predicted that Vinny is fucked and that he may even die. But yeah, bro, Puma better hope, if that matchup does happen, that Vampiro has an answer to that gauntlet, because they even established in that cinematic again that Cage can't take it off. So that's another thing too, because I know your theory was, oh, well, maybe he'll take it off and Vampiro will, like, keep it away from him or something else. That can't happen now. It's assimilated with Cage. So how in the fuck, like, is that going to be overcome? That's going to be a very interesting question for Lucha Underground to answer. Are you still sticking with Vampiro counteracting it, or do you have any new theories that you want to put forward?
Man, that's a harder call to make now. I don't know. I still think there's a chance, because like I said, if there's anyone in the temple that recognizes dark magic, it is Vamp. but I don't know what he's going to be able to do about it now. Maybe he'll have a little dark magic of his own to counteract it. I don't know.
I mean, dude, it's a pretty horrifying day in the world when you and I can both sit here and we know what Vampiro's capable of, and we're just kind of sitting here like, yeah, that gauntlet may surpass even his capabilities. Like, if you're not shitting a brick by now, you're doing it wrong. Cage, all the words I've ever used to describe him seem so hollow and inadequate now. Calling him a beast, hell, even, which, by the way, I was going to say machine. That's how that cinematic ended, by the way, guys. After he pulverized Face, he says, I'm not a man, I'm a machine, but the voice was modified to be more demonic. So you know it's taking over, that the possession is becoming successful. And, dude, unless Cage can, and that's another thing. I'll tell you what, this is going to be my final question to you on this, because we've talked about the Cuetos. We've really talked about everybody surrounding Cage, but we haven't talked about Cage directly. What I'm going to ask you is, as straightforwardly as I can, is the possession going to win out? And if so, are we going to see a totally different Cage in seasons 4 and 5? Or, before the end of the season, do you think Cage is going to find a way to emancipate himself from the gauntlet? What do you think is going to happen?
Maybe Vampiro will emancipate him from the gauntlet, and Cage will be thankful, but then he'll just be back to the normal Machine Cage rather than literal God Machine Cage.
Maybe.
For the fight with Puma.
Yeah, yeah.
And we know Puma can beat that version of Cage.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I gotta say, too, because I said this to you in conversation, and I'd be criminal if I didn't reiterate it here. Cage is one of my favorite characters in the Temple because, again, I already mentioned on Lucha Rewatch Season 2 how you look at him, and he looks like one of those guys that can win your world title on his debut, has yet to be Lucha Underground champion, and I think he gets some of the best written storylines in the Temple. Like, I love it. I love what they've done with Cage ever since he arrived. I think one of the best consistently booked characters in Lucha Underground, and this has got to be easily the best storyline he's been a part of since being a member of Lucha Underground. I'm loving it. I'm loving the journey. And to answer my own question, I know Lucha Underground likes to take that darker route with some of its characters. I do think we're going to see a different Cage in the remainder of this season and in seasons 4 and maybe even 5, where it's just going to be this God Cage, which should be terrifying to everybody. So, yeah, I don't see him emancipating himself from that gauntlet. But
so do you think that's going to be how he wins the Lucha title?
Yeah, I think that's going to be how he does. It may take a bit longer than we anticipated, because I know in our preview, neither one of us picked Cage to win the Cup. But I will say this. If Cage does not win the Lucha Underground Championship by Season 4 with these advantages, in fact, I'll even say, if he still has these advantages and he doesn't win it by Season 4, I don't have a hat, but I'll go out, I'll buy it, I'll fucking soak it in butter, and I'll eat it if he doesn't win the world title, because he is freaking due at this point. Like, that build, if it doesn't end
Dude,
there,
you really shouldn't be making bets like that. Pentagon still hasn't won the title, and we're in Season 3 already.
That's true. That's true. But we'll see. And Jacob Cass in chat here just said in Season 4 they have to make a tournament for another gauntlet. I don't know, because the whole God part of Lucha Underground, you don't know how far they want to take it, because we already have Matanzas possessed by a God. Cage is currently being possessed by a God. That's a process that's still ongoing. Did they say there was a God for each tribe, or did I misunderstand?
I don't think they explicitly said it, but if they did, it would have been in that Aerostar cinematic from Season 2 where he meets up with the little girl 1,000 years in the past.
Right. Because if so, that would mean we'd still have a few more possessions to get through. Which, I mean, I guess Jacob Cass's idea, if framed that way, isn't entirely implausible. I never know with Lucha Underground what they're going to do. All I know is Cage is the victim today. And, really, if we're going to say victim, let's not use it so loosely. The only victim here really is Delgado. Because, goddamn, that face, that pulpy-ass face. Yeah, nothing more I can say than that. We talked about the in-ring stuff. We talked about the cinematic stuff. I can't really think of any other points of discussion. Unless you can, we can move on to our next segment.
Let's move on.
All right, high spots and low shots. It's my new Mr. Cisco. I fucking adored it. My low shot's Delgado. I mean, because he fucking died. And that's it. I mean, you can't have a worse night than losing your life. And so, yeah, Delgado, he's my low shot. And I'm going to just rewatch that shit over and over, and it will never not make me smile. So thank you, Lucha Underground. Cisco can finally rest. Delgado's taking his place, because that was amazing.
Well, that's fair. Since you really did take the easiest and the best low shot, I'll take another low shot that people won't be really talking about after this show because of Delgado, but he still had a pretty shitty night, and that's Famous B.
Yeah, Famous B, it was rough. He was looking for a client, but he just got canvas, power bombed on it to be exact. So, Famous B, excellent choice. Because, again, I really did take the easy pickings. I will readily own up to that. As far as high spot goes, you know what? I wouldn't even say our Lucha Thanos here personally. So I think I'll go with a winner of a match tonight. The question is, who do I want? And you know what, though? I'll say Tejano, because I think he had the easiest match of the night tonight. Because, first of all, Famous B was willing to give it to him anyway. But then Tejano's like, oh, well, I didn't get oiled up for nothing, so powerbomb. Whereas at least Mala Suerte and Argenis and Aerostar all put up competitive matches. So, yeah, I'm going to say Tejano because he had, like, the path of least resistance. He didn't have to do shit tonight. So, yeah, he's my high spot.
You know what? Low key, I think that Dario Cueto had a really good night tonight because he never liked Delgado in the first place. He was always kind of subservient to him, and now he's not in the picture anymore. So now if the Lord wants to work with Cueto, he's going to have to work with him side by side, and that kind of means Cueto's moving up in the world, moving up in the ladder. So, yeah, I think Cueto had a low-key really good night tonight.
Yeah, exactly, because, I mean, riddle me this. How are you subservient to someone who has no face? And so Cueto doing very well for himself. I actually really like your pick. I appreciate that. I think while I got, like, the easy low shot, you definitely had the best high spot. So good little trade-off there. And, yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's our Lucha Underground review. Ashton, do you have any concluding remarks about tonight's episode before I take us home?
I don't think so, man. Let's take it home. This was a lot of fun.
All right, guys. This has been Lucha Underground. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my co-ordinator commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. The more likes you give this video, the more likely we are to be the top search result for Lucha Underground reviews on YouTube. And when you're the best at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please, guys, if you haven't already, leave that like. We greatly appreciate it. And to get onto our media, all the stuff you can find us at is in the description box, from our Twitter to the Patreon, which a new tier has been added. We've got a Discord now. You can contribute $3, get to be a part of that. Our Teespring store, we've got TWitWoW shirts, we've got Scum Squad shirts, we got Scum Squad stickers, we got Kevin Owens, because he's a father, damn it, shirts. So we got all sorts of stuff at the Teespring store. Be sure to check it out. If you're a fan of our Lucha Underground content and you're here because they're like, oh, there's only one place to go for Lucha Underground, that's TWitWoW, which you wouldn't even be wrong, thank you. For these particular videos, we always have all of our playlists, because Ashton's just a boss like that and he has everything so organized. We've got our Season 3 reviews playlist, Season 3 live reactions playlist, and then all Lucha Underground content ever playlist, all in the description. So if you're a Lucha Underground junkie, if you're like, I cannot get enough of this shit and I cannot get enough of John and Ashton's opinions, do not fret. We've got you, fam. We've got you. So it's all in the description there. And now that I've plugged all the media and everything else, let me get to the stuff that I know you guys are here for, the breakdown of the rest of the week, as well as future content, which really isn't much, because there is going to be no NXT review tonight, but we are going to be doing NXT reviews again next week. So you can look forward to an NXT review there, but not tonight. As far as the rest of this week goes, tomorrow we're going to go live at 8. It's going to be Money in the Bank preview and predictions. I'm actually really looking forward to these. Money in the Bank is one of my favorite WWE pay-per-views of the year, because I just feel like so much comes out of Money in the Bank for the summer into the fall, if not later, depending on how long they want to sit on shit. So going to be some very spirited discussions tomorrow. I'm excited for that. So you can look forward to that tomorrow. Again, we go live at 8 p.m. Money in the Bank preview and predictions. There's going to be nothing Friday, nothing Saturday, but then Sunday is Money in the Bank live reactions. Going to be covering the show, pillar to post, bell to bell. And of course, we know if the show is a snooze fest, which I'm actually hoping it won't be, chat is always entertaining. You guys always bring your A game just like we do. So it should be a fun time regardless. And looking way, way into the future, we have got Q&A. Again, I want to reiterate to everybody, we've changed policy a little bit. Q&A is now the last Thursday of every month, which means that for this month, it's going to be Thursday, June 29th, 15 days away. So just a little over, a hair over 2 weeks. You've got to submit your questions. All the media I ran down earlier, you can submit your questions there. You can DM me. You can mention me in a post. I've even got a pinned tweet where Q&A questions can go. So, Twitter's a great method. You could wait for this video to process and leave your questions. You can go to the TWitWoW Facebook page. If you do visit the page and you haven't left a like, please do so. It means a lot. And you could inbox us there. So there is a multitude of ways that you can get your Q&A questions in. No reason why your voice can't be heard on a Q&A. The cap is 4 questions per Q&A, and you can divvy them up any way you like. So you can get 2 perspectives at the cost of 1 question. So if it's pro wrestling, you can be like, oh, hey, both John and Ashton. Or if it's a more nuanced question, Ashton is a very football-based guy. If you have a football-based question, you'd want to ask him. And if you're in touch with your nerdy side and you want to ask more of a philosophical question, that's why I'm here. So, yeah, you can really ask virtually anything. The power is yours. So be sure to enjoy it because you got 15 days left. And I think that about wraps it up, guys. So I'm going to just go and chill with my corner commentary here, rewatch that amazing Lucha Underground episode, and catch on NXT tonight because I saw some insane GIFs from that. So until then, guys, we'll see you tomorrow night at 8 for Money in the Bank Premium Predictions. And until then, tune in and peace out.